What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, of course, is my toothy friend, my sidekick, the Freddie Mercury puppet. We are back with another amazing episode of Pod Scum. Let me give myself a look. Take a look at that beautiful coif. Of course, made possible by the one and only product that gets it done for me. And like I always say, my disclaimer is you might not be able to look this good, but this should help you look pretty damn good. Of course, I'm also blessed with phenomenal genes, as I am, of course, the son of David Lee Roth. That's right. Take a look. You know it. You know that you're looking at Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., the son of glam, the peanut butter to your jam, adored by millions of fans. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wop, bop, loo, bop, wop, bam, bam, shazam. Hot damn. Oh, I'm glad I got that out of my system. Feels good. Got another great episode coming at you right now. And I can't wait, man. Let me get my little spiel out of the way here. Gotta do it, kids. Make sure to like and follow us on Facebook. It's necessary these days. Necessary to have one. Necessary to promote on it. It's where you'll find updates and alerts for brand new episodes that are coming out. Also, if you're watching this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel to stay tapped in. You know it. I know it. This is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. No place else. The best conversations happen right here. I cannot say it enough, man. And, excuse me. It's because I firmly believe it. Before my guest gets in here, let me say that I just posted, today is October 24th, 2024, 1 week away from Halloween, just posted episode number 208. So we are up north of 200 episodes. I implore people to dig into the past episodes. So many great conversations with so many legendary artists. And again, I'll take this opportunity right here to thank the multitude of great guests that have come on here. It's been an absolute honor and privilege. One of them is here now, so I'm going to shut my pie hole and let's get down to it right now. Mike, come on. Do I got you?
I think you got me.
I got you. Yeah, a little dark, but I can see you.
Hold on. How's this?
Much better, much better. Mike, I appreciate you doing this, man. I know talking to you offline, man, that you had a long-ass day of traveling, man, so I appreciate you making the time, man.
No, of course. Sorry it was delayed. We were supposed to do this last week.
That's all right, man. I mean, real life always gets in the way, man. I have a day job, too, and kids and grandkids, and I'm up to my neck in bullshit responsibilities all the time, it seems like. I don't even know how I have time to even do this.
It's because it's probably something you really like to do. And
I do. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I mean, I had to pinch myself. I get to talk. I mean, last night I'm talking to Danny Schuler from fucking Biohazard. I wanted to pass out. A fucking legend.
Yeah, and a good friend as well.
Yeah. So, Mike, usually I start these things. I like to dig in and kind of go back to the origins, man. When you got into music, what was it that lit the fuse for you? Was there a specific artist or an album or maybe even a song that really kind of got it all jump started for you?
To be a musician or just as music?
Yeah.
I think it was the circle of friends that I was involved with.
Yeah.
They all played in bands. And I followed suit, playing in bands with them, and they definitely just being up front and watching them rehearse, and going to their shows as they were forming, as they were getting popular, as they were getting bigger, and just that whole process and like feeling a community really drew me into it.
Yeah.
So these bands are actually, you know, from my neighborhood, like Leeway and Outburst and Fit of Anger and Everybody Gets Hurt. Like these are all guys that I grew up with.
Right.
All like discovered heavy music and grew as musicians together.
Yeah. And there is no better scene than the New York hardcore scene, man. I mean, it's impossible. It's impossible to find a hardcore scene anywhere that's better.
I think
there's some great ones, but I mean, I'm partial because I'm an upstate New Yorker too, man. But New York is, I mean, fucking spawned some of the greatest.
Oh yeah, and I'm lucky to have been a part of it, and as a fan and as a player in its heyday, but I think now it's a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
And I welcome that as well. I actually fuck with all the young kids, and then they have time to talk to an old cat like me. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'll go to all shows, and all the scenes are great to me.
And I'm glad you brought up young bands, because when I think of hardcore, and I'm glad you mentioned like the whole New York environment, because I've read Harley's book, I've read Roger's book, that Lower East Side, when that scene was really born and what it was spawned out of, it was a grittier time in New York City. Those bands were very DIY. It was really a movement that they started. And do you think nowadays, when you do see these young bands, that hardcore attitude and ethos is still a thing?
Absolutely. The environment is different, and I think it's different in a good way. I think that like the music we created was definitely a byproduct of how we were living.
Mm-hmm.
And all the aggression and the violence, in the lyrics, and the just the aggression of what was going on with everybody at the time,
Right.
Definitely rubbed off in the music. I think the young kids are a fan of these older bands, and maybe they don't live the same way, but their sense of community feels the same, or even better.
Yeah.
Because just say if we were street kids, you're always, got an eye behind your back, and, hard to trust people. I think our sense of community, we were either tight or we were cannibalizing each other.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't feel any of that going into these, shows where there's a lot of younger bands playing, and they're all inclusive, so things, just say when we were playing, there were definitely cliques here, cliques there, cliques here, that like developed in the late 80s and early 90s, where people just went off and did their own things, and there weren't these huge shows anymore where like there would be metalheads, there would be b-boys, there would be skinheads. So that I think is back now, where everybody just is into anything and everybody fucks with everybody.
Yeah.
And that I feel really good about.
And do you like, this is kind of a polarizing topic. I ask a lot of people on here. Do you like the role that technology has in music? Obviously, now today, it's almost necessary for bands to be on all these different platforms. It's kind of a way to obviously, promote and advertise your project or your particular product or whatever. But there also seemed to be an air of mystery back in the day where we didn't know so much about our artists. Where do you stand on technology?
I think technology has its place as an instrument, not so much banking on technology to get your band across the threshold. I mean, I used to go with a bucket that had like flour and water in it, and I used to just, paste up my own flyers on telephone poles, and
right.
I would do all that. I mean, it's a lot easier to make flyers and, get them out on your social media. Even if kids can't make it to your shows, at least they know you're playing, with the technology, and it's a more of a direct route to your music.
Right.
Technology definitely distracts people more. Like, I think we got just as much done without it in terms of touring and, and creating music. It's easier to put demos together, but it's harder to get people together.
Yeah.
Because it's busy, on their phone or just wrapped up in life. So everything sort of evens out. I think it's the same. I think it's just how you use it.
Yeah. 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 Is there one person out there, or maybe multiple people, that you feel like have had the most direct influence on your style of guitar playing?
Out there, like, what do you mean? Like out there playing?
Influences, yeah, yeah. Who do you think? Who do you think that you've listened to has shaped your playing the most?
It's so many guitar players. I used to be just saying to myself, it was this just one or two guitar players that did it for me, but there are many, and not just in hardcore. Like, I think guitar players outside of hardcore shape my music more than hardcore players per se. So, on the top of the list, it's Jimmy Page, because, he's the riff master, so like, just being a fan of that band, being my favorite band, it's all riff orientated music, and that's how I modeled my playing for my entire life.
Yeah.
So but then there's players like David Gilmour that are very like slow hand with the solos, and almost their guitar, the voicings are almost vocal.
Yeah.
So I tap a lot from him. I tap a lot from Eddie Van Halen. Not that I can play anything like him, but
not many people can.
yeah, but again, very inspirational, very inspiring in a way that I could feel good about experimenting, because that's what he did.
Yeah.
And there's more Jordy from Killing Joke,
Yes.
has been my favorite guitar player for the last 20 years, just because he's so different and just sonically a monster, in that genre.
Yeah.
Going into hardcore, is definitely my best friend AJ Novello, that like who's like there and from the beginning helping me along my journey, like helping me, like always steering me in the right direction. So he's a big influence to me. I got bass players that are my favorites, like Lemmy, Harley, Entwistle.
Yeah, sure.
These are the essentials for not only me, a lot of people.
When you're going to create music, whether you're going to write, write actual music or write lyrics, do you have a specific creative process? Like, obviously, so many people come on here; they're all creative in their own way, but there's many different ways they go about it. You got the creatives who got to seclude themselves, and they kind of say, this is my time to write, or they're getting ideas throughout the day at their day job. I hear the car a lot, getting ideas in the car. For you, what's the creative process like?
Well, a lot through my life, it's been like late at night, like before I go to bed, like, I'll put 2-3 hours in.
Yeah.
Like real quiet, with my amp off, no distortion, nothing. If I feel I wake up in the morning and I remember it and I like it, then it was worth remembering.
Right.
So yeah, more of a night owl, writing music.
And what do you record it with? Like, is it actual physically pen to paper? Are you one of those guys that like talk stuff or hum stuff into a device or a phone?
No, I just play it, and if I could remember the riff in the morning, I'll keep playing it.
You're like, okay, that was memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'll only like lay stuff down, to a recorder if it's ready to present to someone else.
Yeah.
Like, or my drummer, or my vocalist, or where it's at a point where I need to get it going so the whole band can get it down.
Yeah. Now, I know this kind of goes against, like I said earlier, the ethos of the hardcore world. But as a music fan, I'm interested to get your take on, like, when we see these legendary bands, and I'm not a musician, myself, but I'm just using, terms that I've heard or whatever. But you see a lot of people going to shows, pulling out their phones, then they're kind of coming home and posting stuff and being almost like armchair music critics. And you see a lot of bands getting chastised for backing tracks or these different smoke and mirror type tricks, and we're not really sure how much a band is actually playing up there. Where do you kind of stand on that? Do you like if a band has to use that, or would you rather go see a band and see them, sort of, warts and all?
Well, again, it depends what you're utilizing technology for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big Ghost fan. So before Ghost got as big as when they could afford to have, 3 backing vocals,
right,
or two keyboard players instead of one, and they had backing tracks going on to just enhance the music experience. Let me tell you something. You get if you have a song that has backing tracks, you have to be very, very talented to be able to play live to a click and not have that all unravel on you.
Stay on par with it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I played in a band that played to a click live, and we had some ambient atmospheric stuff going on in the background.
Yep.
Where like it enhanced like the listening experience live, and I felt very comfortable with it, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
I don't think, I think anyone who criticizes maybe doesn't know what goes into doing something like that. I think lip syncing to a track, that's not cool. I think having like secondary guitar tracks on a program, I don't think that's cool.
Yeah.
But there's things that I think that are cool, like especially like having like some synth sounds going around in the background.
Yeah.
I think, where you have like some voice, like backing vocal voicings, not so much words, that just like kind of, subtle, tucked in.
Right.
I think are cool. And again, you need a wicked good drummer to like keep pace with all that. And everyone's got to be like buttoned up if you're going to even attempt something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you're still out there. You were on the road a while back when we talked. You mentioned that you're leaving again tomorrow. As you get older, and you've been doing this for a long time, do you still like the nomadic existence of being out there on the road and touring?
I feel most comfortable that way.
You do? Yeah. Kind of got that Henry Rollins mentality. Like he'd rather not be at home.
I mean, I like being home, but being out on the road, I've developed so many friendships over the years with people all over the country. It's a great way for me to get out there and just see my people, while I'm out touring, like I wouldn't otherwise be able to do that.
Sure.
What am I going to do? I'm going to like go to 27 cities to see everybody that I know. Like that's not possible. But these are people that I knew from New York that moved away years ago or just recently. And, they're building lives elsewhere, and I still want to see them. So like when I'm out on the road, if I know I have friends in a certain city, I hit them up, invite them out. And mostly everyone comes down, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
We get to catch up. We get to, shoot the shit, sometimes even talk business.
And so where is your musical focus right now? Because you've been in so many amazing projects. Is your focus right now Outburst?
Well, Outburst is more of a like one-offs here or there.
Okay.
Because everyone else in the band, they have families, jobs. Not say like the nomadic existence that I have.
Yep.
But when there's good things that come across the table, we definitely take everything into consideration. Being that people are nice enough to like invite us out to, to be a part of a festival, to be a part of a big show, to be a part of like a wicked cool bill in a club. So like, to me, that's a privilege. I've always felt that way. And now that we're like older, I think it's even more of a privilege when people still remember your name or still want to hear the songs that you play.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I do Outburst when I can.
Yep.
We have a weekend that we're doing with Judge in Long Island, New Jersey, in a few weeks. So that's going to be awesome. I'm going to see my friends in Judge, and the new Amityville Music Hall. They've made it like almost twice the size, and it's going to be my first time playing there since it's bigger.
Okay.
And so one show's there and one show's down in the Jersey Shore. So like, it's going to be a good weekend. And
you also still do stuff with Crown of Thorns.
Yeah. I'm playing with Crown of Thorns this Saturday in Houston. We're doing a one-off down there. There's a nice thriving young scene down there, and they want to make it happen. So we're gonna fly in and out and do it. We have another our next show after that is at Irving Plaza, November 23rd. And that's a very special show. We're going to be part of the benefit show for Lou Kohler of Sick of It All.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Thoughts and prayers go out to Lou. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've had him on before. What a guy. Amazing.
Yeah. Great guy. Toured with him a bunch, and he's like my Queen's brother for life.
Yep.
And I'm very honored that we were asked to participate on that bill, because there's going to be a bunch of wicked bands on that bill.
Yeah.
And then we're doing a little mini tour down in Florida in December. So we're going to be hitting Miami at Gramps, Tampa at the Brass Mug, Orlando at the Spot, and there's a place called I believe it's called the Collective in Atlanta. So we're doing, we're flying in, doing 3 shows in Florida, Atlanta, and then flying home.
Yeah.
And we're doing, and it was just announced yesterday, we're doing the club show for Disturbing the Peace, the festival in Baltimore, which is like a awesome gathering. Like,
yeah.
I believe the United States has like definitely a European vibe to it, where like now we have festivals.
We're trying. Yeah. I noticed that. Yeah.
Fine, they're doing it. We've got like 6 or 7 festivals where like over 2,000 kids show up to these things all over the country, and the younger kids will save their money and travel, or they'll drive 3-4 hours. So like they're all pretty much spaced out evenly, regional, and that's exciting. Like the festival day, it's like Speed and End It, and we're headlining the club show the night before. It's awesome. A free show.
Yeah. And because you go all over and tour all over the place, what's the big difference? Because you bring up a good point. For a while there, it seemed like Europe really had the market cornered on great festivals. And yes, it is great that America is starting to get on par with them. Man. What's the biggest glaring difference that you see, like when you tour Europe and the United States?
Well, it's 2 different vibes. I like them equally. But in the US, where it's catching up, it's mainly attributed to the younger scene.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about technology, they know how to utilize it to fill a room up with 2,000 kids.
Yeah.
And they know how to put good bills together. They pay the bands well. They're very strategic about making it everybody included. And they're awesome. They'll put a mix of like younger bands, older bands, people that are all like friendly with each other. And that's where I definitely like where the US is going. Even before that, when we didn't have the festivals, I loved going out in the States, because there's a lot of bands that turn their back on the States because they don't get paid as much.
Yeah.
They do in Europe, so they just ignore it. And then I would go out for a month with Cro-Mags and I Hate God, and we'd hit B and C markets where no one would go. And those would be the best shows.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, I can't believe you're here.
Yeah, I know. They're dying for some great live music. Yeah.
I mean, we go to places like Tulsa.
Yeah.
We go to places like, Johnson City, Tennessee, where nobody goes.
Yeah.
And like, whatever, there's 100 people there. Like, we'd kill it in merch that night.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I've felt like a rekindled relationship with touring in the States, because you're making someone feel better in some part of the world where they really need it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Yeah. So you also worked with John Joseph in his version of the Crow Mags. Anything going on with him these days?
He's doing the Blood Clot band.
Okay.
And I think he's working with Tom Capone from Quicksand and my friend Darren Morgenthaler from Maximum Penalty. So they're like, I don't know how much touring they're doing, but they're consistent with getting like new music out.
Yeah. And so curious to ask why you think and again, we talked about it earlier, I kind of attribute it to it's kind of a snapshot in time, of why that scene was spawned out of the New York City that we know from the 70s and 80s. But I don't know, maybe you'll put a different spin on it. But why do you think New York City became and bred so many great hardcore bands as opposed to like a different genre of music?
I think New York spawned a lot of great music in general.
Granted, yeah.
In general, not just hardcore. Like hip hop was happening.
Oh yeah.
At the same time, it was like it was developing and blowing up exactly at the same time.
Yeah, that's special. Yeah.
So like we're urban kids struggling, and our music is basically our emotions on our sleeves of how we're living our life. And the hip hop kids were doing the exact same thing in a different language with different beats. So I think it was the sort of the struggle that the city itself had. It was just coming out of like bankruptcy with Mayor Koch.
Oh sure.
And you could get an apartment for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could claim an abandoned apartment and just squat in it.
Yep.
And a bunch of my friends did. So those lyrics, that music is all a reflection of that struggle. So that's the flavor of New York. And being that it was so cheap to live, and and there was a danger element of it, there was more artistic freedom.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It doesn't exist in the city now.
Yeah.
Like, we had watering holes, that we'd go to, and we'd see our friends there every week. There would be a show every week somewhere. We'd leave our houses, just say, I live in Queens, this guy lives in Brooklyn, this guy lives in the Bronx. We'd all end up on the Lower East Side. And, it was just like an open living room in the street where we just run into our friends, like from block to block.
Yeah.
And, and we'd have our bars that we'd go to. We'd have our shows that we'd go to. There would be a metal show. There'd be a ska show. There would be a grindcore show. There would be a hardcore show. There'd be a straight edge show. We'd go to all of it. We had, our friends existed in all these sectors. I'd go to Krishna shows. I'd go to see 108.
Yeah.
That they're like one of the hardest bands that ever existed.
Yeah.
So, I would do all that.
And obviously, we're at where we're at now with streaming or whatever. Not as much of the industry that we remember from years and years ago, with the record labels and going out and buying, the physical product as much. But do you think the industry could have somehow found a way to, I don't know how they would have done this. Maybe you have an opinion on this, but maybe somehow find a way to harness or make better use of the streaming platforms and get artists paid better and make it more profitable and make everybody, happier. Cause it seems like I talked to a lot of musicians on here where, and I guess the credo has kind of always been, I do this because I love it. But now it seems like people really have to do it because they love it. Cause unless you're at the top of the food chain and you're Taylor Swift or somebody, there's not like a lot of money to be made in it. Is there a way that the industry could have got in on the streaming and made this a better situation?
The only way it's going to be a better result for the artist is that there needs to be like some sort of regulation, interjection by the government, believe it or not, because like the streaming is monopolized. And it kind of just went on for too long without being checked, and no one's doing anything about it. So like, whatever like rate that it is, which is less than a penny per stream, on either people have to boycott the streaming, which they're not going to do because they're too comfortable with it.
Right.
Or there has to be some sort of regulatory like law in place where finally someone has to step up for the artist, because there's hundreds of thousands of us.
Oh yeah.
And we're starving.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah.
In the meantime, there's bands that probably may have wanted to retire from touring that can't now, and probably have to tour till they're, tour till they die. Yeah. Because that's the only way, that's your only means of income.
Yeah.
You can't really rely on the streaming.
Yeah. It's very sad, man. I mean, when Lars was hooting and hollering about Napster back in the day, man, he was really keying into something.
Yeah. Well, there's all, there was propagandists that wanted to see all this come to fruition as far as like streaming goes. And it wasn't necessarily people saying, well, Lars is a rich snob.
You're right.
There was a ton of people saying that Lars was right, even at that time, and Frank Zappa. Yeah. But, for stepping up for the artist. So I think there has to be some sort of interjection of law where a labor law, just like anything else. That's
a great idea. Some type of legislation. Yeah.
Some type of legislation that would just give to the artist.
Yeah. One thing that makes me really happy is it is nice to see in the last several years. I don't know, I can't pinpoint when this started, but it does seem like now the hardcore genre specifically is starting to get at least its flowers a little bit and its spotlight shined on it. There's the Great Agnostic Front documentary, and Roger wrote a book. Vinny just put out a book. It really seems like the scene is really starting to get its flowers a little bit. As a guy that's in the scene, man, do you feel that, or do you feel like sometimes hardcore does not get its just due?
No, I think anyone who's real will recognize it.
Yeah.
So we embrace anyone that enjoys what we do. We embrace anybody that comes into it just discovering it and be like, wow, now I understand what it is. It's definitely getting more accolade as years go by. While I was out on tour with Agnostic Front just a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they were like, hey, we know you're coming through Cleveland to play a show. Do you want to come down and check out the exhibits? We'll give you guys passes and in a tour. Yeah. So I was like, that's very nice. So we went, and there was a CBGB's exhibit where they recreated the storefront with the awning.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we walk by, and then we're like, holy shit, we see Agnostic Front stenciled into the awning. And
that's awesome. Yeah. It was
something that Vinny did with his own stencil, when Agnostic Front first formed. And he's like, fuck this, I'm tagging this up.
That's cool.
On the building, and they used one of those images, early images, to recreate the front of the club. So that was a pleasant surprise. And as we walked around, we definitely saw homage to hardcore in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was Earl Hudson's drum kit from the Bad Brains, was part of one of the rock exhibits. There was a bunch of stuff from the Dead Boys, there were Black Flag, Zero Boys, Minor Threat. It's definitely, sometimes it takes years and years, even decades, for people to figure out what exactly it was that we were doing.
Yeah.
And, now that it's having its day in the sun, it feels good.
Well, yeah, I mean, it can take the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, even people that would be perceived as legends, I mean, it's taken some of them even years and years to even get their acknowledgments, and get input in the Hall of Fame. I mean, fuck's sake, they just put Ozzy in as a solo artist last weekend.
I watched it on my drive home, and it kind of sucked.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What part of it did you feel sucked? Like, just because you didn't get just because of you're seeing where Ozzy is at this point in his life?
Yeah, why they waited this long? One,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Were they just throwing him a bone while he's alive? That's not cool.
I got that sense too.
Yeah, that sucked. And then the bands were great. But
they were.
Every guest vocalist sucked.
Yeah,
they were all flat, and it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of too bad that we couldn't have got it. As you say, had given Ozzy these flowers back when he could have got up there and he could have performed his own stuff.
It's their home state, and Devo's not in.
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah,
you got to take that with a grain of salt with that. But I just I didn't like the circus it was at Ozzy's expense.
Yeah.
So but he's a good sport about it, even at this stage.
Well, you make a good point with it being Devo's home state. Like, do you think sometimes, and again, I don't mean to impugn, any pop stars or hip hop stars, because I love a lot of hip hop and I love a lot of pop music or whatever. But do you think sometimes though that the great rock and roll bands, because it did start out being the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, seems like we're really pushing in a lot of pop and a lot of hip hop though. I mean, and hip hop is such a force of its own. It almost seems like they should have their own museum too.
Oh, they could, but I think the concept of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just to make everyone inclusive,
right? All encompassing,
and non-inclusive, because they snub a lot of
yes, they do. Yeah,
Soundgarden's not in. Is atrocious.
Yeah,
but then if you close the door to hip hop, then you're closing the door to the Deftones.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is it's an extreme form of rock.
Yeah, there's a lot of dividing lines there. Yeah.
Run DMC, Rockbox.
Yeah.
They're all I think as you go back in time, everything just goes right back to Chuck Berry, and it branches out from there.
Yeah.
Every genre.
Yeah. I mean, we've lost, and I'm glad you brought up Soundgarden, man. We've lost, so many amazing rock stars over the years. Obviously they all hit home and they affect us in a different way or whatever, man. And, it's so great to remember them and keep their memory alive. You bring up the Soundgarden one, the Chris Cornell one. I don't think a lot of people saw that one coming. But was there one that really impacted you, that really hit close to home and really hurt you, as far as maybe it was somebody that was an act that was, very near and dear to your heart or held a special place for you?
Yeah, in the last 9 months, lost 2 members of Leeway that really helped shape my life.
Yeah.
And not only that, my idols who are my friends, but they meant a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, I being front row and center to that, it hurt even more,
Yeah.
And then AJ is my best friend, and it hurts him.
Yeah.
So I would say that hit closest to home for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks that we lose these. It sucks that we lose. That's why, like, I've encouraged, and I've said it on other episodes too. Thoughts and prayers going out to, of course, Lou from Sick of It All. And it's great to hear that. It's great to hear that the scene, though, man, and I wouldn't expect anything less, man. Is that everyone's kind of on the same page and really pulling together and trying to do everything they can for him, which is amazing.
Yeah, he's really tough, man.
Yeah. And I mean, even Roger from Agnostic, he went through his health issues a couple years ago too. Although I did see him about a year and a half ago, though, man, and they can still fucking bring it like nobody else. I mean, incredible.
Yeah, well, I just spent a month out on the road with them.
Yeah,
and that's another thing too, is sort of like, where we are in life. If I could be there for my friends who who've definitely have picked me up, and put me out there to play, or just being there, like the guys that like winged me when I was kids.
It's a great scene. Yeah, it is.
When I was a kid, like, whatever part I play for Agnostic Front, and I do behind the scenes stuff for them. And I go out on the road with them. So, like, they're my lifelong friends, and whatever they need, I got them.
Yeah. And actually, that concert that I saw them was up here in Syracuse at the Lost Horizon. You guys were on that bill as well.
On which tour?
You were playing with CROWN of Thornz, and it was CROWN of Thornz and Sick of It All and Agnostic Front.
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Wow, you got a good memory. Yeah, what a great show, though, man. Amazing.
I love. Is that where you're from?
I'm in upstate New York. Yeah, that's probably the closest venue where a lot of bands that do that kind of music actually come to, because I could be to the Lost Horizon, from my front door to theirs in probably 35, 40 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
I love playing in Syracuse.
Yeah, it is a good town, and of course, being a New Yorker, the cold weather's right around the corner. So,
yeah. I played Syracuse New Year's Day, this year.
Yeah,
and it was cold, man.
Yeah,
cold. Yeah, like there's a New Year's Day jam every year that the younger kids put on. And it's at like it's like the auditorium of a church, and you play right on the floor.
Yeah.
And it was Killing Time, CROWN of Thornz, and like some local bands, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. I know you had a long day of traveling, man. We talked like offline, man. You had a long drive today, man. So I really appreciate you making the time to do this, man. I mean, it's really been a pleasure getting the chance to talk to you, man. We're in touch online, man. So please stay in touch, man. I'd love to have you on again, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. It really was a pleasure, man. And safe travels. I know you're heading back out tomorrow, man. So.
Yeah. I look forward to it. Like this, I hear it's popping off down in Houston. So.
Yeah, and it'll be much warmer than here.
Dude, I went. Where were we? We went to Austin.
Yeah.
2 months ago. With the Agnostic Front, we opened up for the Misfits in an arena.
Yeah.
Check out this bill. It was Misfits, Suicidal Tendencies, the Reverend Horton Heat.
Wow.
And an AF.
Wow.
In an arena.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but nice and cool in there, but like it was like 110 degrees.
Yeah.
Outside. So like I love the heat.
Yeah.
So like any chance I get to go down south in the cold, I'm down.
And Suicidal Tendencies has a pretty fierce lineup right now. I'm going to see them next year at the big stadium show out here in Syracuse at the Carrier Dome with Pantera and Metallica.
Yeah, they deserve it, man.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm glad to see them get on a big bill, man. They'll finally put them in front of some huge audiences. I mean, I know they've been going over to Europe and playing festivals and have certainly been in front of huge audiences before, but this is nice, like when a band like that actually takes them out.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, that's just... years passing and people finally realizing that, they need to be playing to more people.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Well, listen, man, this was a real pleasure getting the chance to talk to you, man. Thanks so much, man. And again, safe travels, man, like when you're out there, man. And we'll definitely do this again, man. It was great chopping it up with you, man. I appreciate it.
All right. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Pleasure, buddy. Thank you. Later, man. there he goes, folks. Mike Dijan, a staple in the New York hardcore scene. As you heard, was out with Agnostic Front. The resume, incredible. Crown of Thorns, Skarhead, Breakdown, John Joseph's Cro-Mags, Outburst, Judge. I mean, he's been around, seen it, done it all, and got the fucking t-shirt, man. As I said, a staple of the hardcore community in New York, and a staple of the hardcore community in general, man. An amazing resume, man, an amazing career, man, and a huge honor. It's like getting a chance to talk to New York hardcore royalty, man. I equate him, we're right there with, all the giants of that scene, man. Just been there, and been out on the road, man, with some of the greats, man, and truly just a guy that I was really looking forward to talking to, man. A guy really with his pulse on the hardcore world, and a big part of that New York community, as you heard him say, with just all the great bands down there, the Agnostics, the Sick of It Alls, the Leeways, the War Zone, Murphy's Law, just New York. And maybe I'm obviously going to be biased being an upstate New Yorker, but New York, man, a fucking legendary hardcore scene. Mike Dijan, a big part of that fucking scene, man. Just talking about the show where I saw him a couple of years ago with the amazing Crown of Thorns, of course, with Danny Diablo. They opened the bill, and then Sick of It All and Agnostic Front, man. I mean, if you can get yourself to a hardcore fucking show, I urge people that haven't done it to do it, man. The energy, the atmosphere, it's just fucking different. It hits differently, man. It's something that can only be described by going to see it live, man, and having it be in your face in a small dive bar or a small club where everything is right there in your face, man. And there's nothing like it, man, to get the blood fucking coursing through your veins, man. Hardcore is truly an entity of its own, man, and one that should be appreciated, not just on vinyl or your streaming platforms, but should really be appreciated and admired most in a live setting. So get out there, like I always say, support your live fucking bands. Get out there, buy some merch, man. Lift these guys up, man. Because, and even Mike alluded to, man, it's a difficult time, man. Artists are out there fucking starving, man. Not two nickels to rub together, man. So get out there and lift these guys up, man. Do your due diligence, man. Be a good fucking music fan, man. Go out and support the artists that you fucking love. There, I said it, man, and I'll say it again. Thank you, Mike Dijan, from Crown of Thorns, Skarhead, Breakdown, Cro-Mags, Outburst. He's fucking done it all, man. What a fucking career, man. And he's still out there fucking doing it, man. That's the fucking New York hardcore way, man. Keep on fucking grinding, man. And keep on fucking pushing on, man. So thank you to him, man. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed it. And of course, like I always say, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel, and check us out on Facebook to stay tapped into all the latest updates, man. The best conversations happen right here, and I will accept no fucking argument, man. Show me where there's better conversations. I'm sure there probably are out there, but still, this is what I have to say because it's my fucking podcast, and I want you, selfishly, I want you to watch my fucking podcast. So I'm going to say that I'm the best, and I'm going to fucking stand by it. And I'm also going to stand by what I always say when I end these things, and that is, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.